And we're now joined by our guest, Professor Swaran Singh, School of International Studies, JNU, on this. Well, welcome to the DD India, sir. So my first question to you is, now that the lawmakers have passed an impeachment motion, will Yoon have to resign immediately? And what happens next as South Korea is into its deepest political turmoil in years?
Thank you. As the Constitution is already very clear on the subject, once 2/3 of the members of National Assembly have supported impeachment resolution, President has to step aside. And Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has already taken charge as acting president. But this is not end of the term as far as President Yoon is concerned. This will now go to the Constitutional Court, which has 180 days to make a verdict on this. And there are some issues with the Constitutional Court. First of all, it is supposed to have 9 judges, out of which 6 must vote in favor for President Yoon to be successfully removed. At this stage, there are only 6 judges out of 9. There are 3 vacancies. So Parliament will hurriedly try to seek appointment of new judges if possible. Second, in April 2025, which is before 180 days, the time that Constitutional Court has, 2 judges are supposed to retire. So some of these are issues that may make the difference. Of course, President Yoon has agreed to step aside, saying at the same time he's not giving up. He's trying to contest. He's been a well-known Attorney General himself, so he might possibly plead for himself. But yes, there are certain issues. But if you look at the first impeachment motion that came up on 3rd of December, which was not approved, right now the President's party, People's Power Party, has had a split. So some of its members have also supported the impeachment motion. So, impeachment motion, which was initially said not possible, is now a reality. So hopefully, let's see how Constitutional Court will take its own judgment on the subject.
Also, Professor, what will be the aftermath of impeachment? Will Yoon's act of governance defense hold up in the court, or can the court nullify the impeachment? And if the impeachment is upheld, what happens to the executive branch in the interim?
Interestingly, actually there are both cases. Constitutional Court in year 2004, in case of President Roh Moo-hyun, had sort of revoked the impeachment and said he can continue and finish his term. But the last one in 2017, Park Geun-hye's impeachment was endorsed by the Constitutional Court, and she was not only removed, she was jailed. So in that sense, there are both examples that we have. But, in case President Yoon has to really go, then the acting president, which is now the Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, have to ensure that new president is elected within 6 months, and it's a direct election by the people. So in that case, that is the alternative outcome in case President Yoon has to go. In case Constitutional Court is not able to come up with a verdict, there is no clarity on that subject. They have to come up with a verdict. So hopefully, whether it is the 6 judges or more judges are appointed, or what happens when April 2 judges retire, some of these are open to speculations. But either way, the Constitutional Court has to give verdict within 180 days. So depending on what the verdict is, the follow-up will flow from there.
All right. Also, Professor, Yoon is expected to form a team of legal representatives to defend himself, while the Parliament will also forge its prosecutor team. Can we expect anything on that front?
Definitely. As I mentioned, he's been himself Prosecutor General. He's a lawyer himself. He has had his own large number of friends who are in that profession. But given the mood in the nation, it is also possible that he may have to stand up and defend his own case, speaking for himself. And he's fully trained to do that in that sense. He's qualified to do that. At this stage, mood seems that it is difficult for any lawyer or any team of lawyers to come and stand by him. But it's a possibility that he has strong friendships over long career that he has had. Interestingly, he was the prosecutor during the last impeachment of Park Geun-hye in 2017. So he's the one who actually ensured that the president was removed successfully. And this time, he is himself going to argue his case. But I'm saying that there are still a lot of uncertainties as to how Constitutional Court is going to work on this. They do have 6 judges, so in one possible scenario, all 6 judges unanimously could support this impeachment proposal, and could make way out, could force President Yoon to leave. But there are, of course, issues. There are, for example, in 2017, two of the judges appointed by President Park Geun-hye themselves had supported the presidential impeachment, though they were appointed by the same president at that time. So, judges have not really followed a strong ideological orientation. They have looked at the constitutional provisions very strictly and taken their verdict on that basis. So it's a possibility that all 6 judges could unanimously, before April, before 2 judges retire, could give a verdict, or the 3 new judges could be appointed within that time. But of course, that involves acting president also approving the nominations that come from the parliament. Right now, parliament stands united, apparently. So if they want to propose 3 new names, they will be, perhaps able to send it to the acting president and get it approved. And Constitutional Court may have 9 judges. So there are multiple possibilities at this stage. It's not an easy outcome that we are all looking at, that soon President Yoon will be asked to leave. I think there could be still many hiccups on the way.
All right, Professor. However, you've been speaking about the acting president. However, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is also under investigation due to his attendance at the cabinet meeting held just minutes before Yoon declared the martial law. He's set to appear for questioning as part of the ongoing investigation into Yoon's treason charges. What about that?
I think that is part of the larger chaos that we have seen right now.
Right.
The defense minister is in detention. A large number of other senior leaders are under investigations. In fact, I believe since 2022 May, when President Yoon took over, there have been 22 cases of impeachments on various officials. So it's been really a turmoil-ridden period in that case of each side trying to do as much damage to the other side as possible in that sense. But constitutional provisions at this stage are clearly that Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is going to become the acting president and will fulfill all the duties of a president. Like I mentioned, approving nominations for the next 3 judges for the Constitutional Court is one possibility. At this stage, all executive powers of President Yoon are put aside. He is no longer executive functioning president, but he can, of course, defend himself. And only now, this case of treason is the one which is going to be investigated by Constitutional Court. That means all other investigations against President Yoon now kind of stay in deep freezer. They are not to be activated at this stage. Apparently, I think there are fairly chaotic reality at this stage as to what is likely to happen. Only thing is that now National Assembly has approved this impeachment proposal, and it is now going to the Constitutional Court, which we know have no more time than 180 days to take a call and make a verdict on the subject.
All right. Amid all this political crisis, Professor, and the ensuing uncertainty that has shaken the financial markets and threatened to undermine South Korea's reputation as a stable democratic success story, what impact the crisis can have on the economy if we talk about that front?
I think these are two important points to ponder. From 1988, over years, South Korea had come to be a model of democracy for Asian countries. And that has received a big hit in last 2.5 years in that sense. So the credentials of South Korea as a democratic model stand really under cloud now. Of course, it also is going to has had impact on their economic growth rates. The credibility, we also know that other than Taiwan, South Korea is a powerhouse in manufacturing of chips, semiconductor chips, which influence all other manufacturing around the world in that sense. So those countries which are partnering with South Korea will have their own impact. India, for example, has about $28 billion of trade with South Korea. South Korea is a major presence in Indian consumer industry, consumer products in India. A lot of investments come from various companies from South Korea. So all the partners are really very, very careful to watch as to how this political turmoil can come to a kind of quick fruition, can stabilize again as soon as possible. South Koreans and United States have also enormous worry about as to how North Korea is going to look at this. Maybe it looks like an opportunity for them to further contribute to destabilization. So yes, not only South Korea, entire neighborhood, and I think major partners of South Korea are really concerned and watching very carefully both the sort of deterioration of democratic traditions and, of course, deceleration of economy as well.
Right, Professor, you've spoken about North Korea. Also, what impact will this have on South Korea's trade relationships, particularly with the US and China? Will this create a more uncertain business environment or affect South Korea's international negotiations?
Apparently, the way we understand, President Yoon had come to power in May of 2022 and was seen clearly as pro-United States leader, who apparently is perhaps on his way out. And the Democratic Party, which has majority in National Assembly, and the Prime Minister leader of that party is Han Duck-soo, is sometime projected to be pro-China in that sense. So, those could be how relationships with major two countries, China and United States, could be perhaps visualized. But I understand that United States has larger concerns, not just in terms of its economic relationship, but also what it means for President Trump coming to office. And President Trump had a certain way of dealing with North Korea that has an impact on South Korea. So in that sense, perhaps those factors have also weighed in as to whether coming of President Trump will mean softening of approach of United States towards North Korea. Last time we remember President Trump had back-to-back 3 summit meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And there was talk about the United States downsizing, even removing its armed forces from South Korea. So I think those could have also been concerns, further pushing anxiety in the political turmoil in South Korea. China has been at a certain distance for last few years, as I said, because of pro-United States, President Yoon being in command, could be looking at this again as an opportunity to cultivate relationship with the new leadership, and there could be a mood swing where Democratic Party will be the party electing the new president. It's a possibility because national mood is very much right now. The popularity ratings, I understand, have fallen as low as 11% for President Yoon. So that national mood and way of dealing with North Korea, that has an impact on South Korea. So in that sense, perhaps those factors have also weighed in as to whether coming of President Trump will mean softening of approach of United States towards North Korea. Last time we remember President Trump had back-to-back 3 summit meetings with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And there was talk about the United States downsizing, even removing its armed forces from South Korea. So I think those could have also been concerns, further pushing anxiety in the political turmoil in South Korea. China has been at a certain distance for last few years, as I said, because of pro-United States, President Yoon being in command, could be looking at this again as an opportunity to cultivate relationship with the new leadership, and there could be a mood swing where Democratic Party will be the party electing the new president. It's a possibility because national mood is very much right now. The popularity ratings, I understand, have fallen as low as 11% for President Yoon. So that national mood and elections within the next 6 months could mean that Democratic Party could have their president as well and majority in National Assembly. So that could tilt South Korean politics maybe slightly in favor of Beijing in that sense.
All right. Lots remains to be seen as to how the whole thing shapes up. Thank you so much, Professor, for joining us and giving us all those details.